Hey everyone, this is Matt here, and today we're going to be doing a random refactor. So basically, the idea is that I chose a file. In this case, it's a file from WooCommerce. That's basically I just went through and found the first PHP file that I can find, and I'm going to go through the process that I use to refactor code to try and make it easier to understand or cleaner or use whatever. I don't know. I haven't really looked at the file very much, so I don't know exactly what it does or anything like that. So this should be interesting. Anyway, so basically when I refactor, there's a couple different types of refactors that I do. And I guess it's easier to compartmentalize them if I lay them out. So the first type of refactor is basically a sugar refactor, is what I like to call it. And the idea here is to get rid of syntax sugar or just things that cloud the actual intention of each of the methods or functions. Now, the way that I do this is the simplest start to this is to look for the else statement. The else statement is it's pure syntax sugar, and it often leads to really bad implementations because the way you think of software when using the else statement isn't as ideal as if you don't use the else statement. It's kind of hard to explain, but anyways, let's go through this and just see if we have any sugar in this class. So this is in the internal data store orders, and it's data synchronizer. And so we can assume that it's doing some syncing here. And I'm doing this inside of GitHub, so it might be a little bit crazy, but let's just see how it goes. All right, we got some if statements there. Okay, here's our first else statement. So the reason why I don't like the else statement is because it usually means that a method is either doing too much or it's creating pointless conditional scopes. So, like if you think of an if statement creates a conditional scope within that. So if this case do this, right? So it's a scope within that if. But an else case, it creates a new scope without actually having any difference between the outer scope of the if statement. So to explain that, everything here, everything outside of this if statement, and everything within, or I guess it's right here, everything outside of this if statement and everything inside of this else statement are within the same scope, if that makes sense. So anyway, so basically the way that you get rid of these is you can either do an early return depending on what you're actually trying to accomplish, or you can break it out into a different method and handle it like that. Here, I'm going to focus for a minute and trying to first understand what this if statement is doing, and then I will come up with an idea to solve it, right? So we have this customer orders table is authoritative. So if it's authoritative, we're going to create this SQL. We're going to set missing orders count to this query, right? And if it's not, this is going to be hard to find that. Then we're going to set this the query. So, okay, so this is a very simple solution for this one because basically all we're doing is we're setting values based on this this one conditional. So the way that I would get rid of this is first I would just take everything in the else condition, just copy it, get rid of it, and put this before the if statement. So what that does is it sets the preconditions, because remember, inside of that else statement is the exact same scope as outside of the entire if conditional. So we set these first because this will be considered a default, because unless this condition is met, these are always set to these values. So you set these values first, and then when you get to the if statement, you do your if and make any changes if necessary, only if necessary. There is no else in this statement or in this situation. You have your values that are always going to be these values no matter what, unless this one condition is met. You know, this is how it is unless this one's set, right? Okay, and so as you can see, yeah, well basically that's the easiest way to get rid of an else statement. Like that's the easiest version of eliminating an else statement. So now we can go to the next one and look for some more sugar. We've got these switches over here. I'm sure that there's some stuff that we can do within the switches, but I'm going to leave those because right now I'm focused on else. Okay, so this is another one where we have the if and the else statement right here. And like I said, in this case, we're actually altering state, or we're doing some we're calling something over here. So we can't use the same process that we used before. Because we're actually doing work. In the last example, we were just setting some values in the scope of the method or the function. But this time we're actually doing stuff outside of the function, so it's not as straightforward. Let's see what we're doing here. I'm going to take a second to look, and basically we're checking to see if the order table is authoritative, and then we go through each batch and we sort through. We get the order ID. If it's not in order, then we process an error, and then we store the order, or we give the data store, and we backfill post record with the order. Okay, and then if it's not an authoritative, then what do? Post to the COT migrator and migrate the order. So we're moving the order. So what we can do here the problem with this function is that we've got this piece of code right here that has to be run in either case. So if we do this part, then we've got to do it. So it's got to be run in either case. These are actually two different situations, right? F0 equals this get total pending count. That's interesting. So what I think I would do, or what I will do here, is I'm going to move this into a private function, and I'm going to call this process custom orders, or yeah, process custom order batch. Okay, I'll send in an array, which is the batch, and it will return void, right? Just like that. So now we haven't affected the interface, we haven't affected anything like that. And what we can do is we can move all of this right here. Now, I really should do this in my ID because these tabs are going to mess with me, I think. Yeah, man, this is going to really mess with me. All right, so we've got that. Which is pretty straightforward. We can get rid of this right now. And what we'll do is we'll say if this customer orders, then this process custom orders batch. And we just send a batch, right? All right, so that simplified it, but it simplified the batch process, but it didn't actually get rid of the else, right? And we want to get rid of the else because the else is everything outside of this. Now I want to look at this synchronized state. So one thing you got to be careful here is you can't actually change the behavior while you're doing syntax, while you're doing sugar refactoring, because if you do that, then you're going to end up with bugs, and you don't want to end up with bugs. What you're really trying to achieve here is just the same behavior without the else. So yeah, clean up synchronized state. One option that we could do is we could copy this to its own, but we've already got this. So it's really an interesting thing. This says that there's two state situations, so we either clear up the synchronization information because the process has been disabled by the user, or it's because there's nothing left to sync, right? Which is where this 0 comes in. Hmm. This is kind of an interesting one because what I would really like to do here is an early return. I would like to do an early return here, but I can't see what that is. Let's look what that is. So, initial order. What was that called again? So initial orders pending sync count option. You know what I could do is I could move this if down here. Which would be something like this. If not, this customer custom orders table is authoritative. I don't want to type all that out. Yeah, okay. And so we end up with something like this, right? And just to make sure that I don't have any typos, I'm going to copy this over. Okay. So, yeah, now we've gotten rid of this altogether. So now we just use this and we'll do process batch orders. I'm going to call it process batch orders because now it's changed a bit. Process batch orders. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. I kind of like that a lot. And then so what we'll do is we'll just do this process batch orders. Batch. And there we go. So we've gotten rid of that else statement. I still don't like this. Honestly, what I would like to do is have this up here, but this has two cases in which this can be executed, but I don't know really, I don't know how they're determining whether or not that is whether or not the settings have anything to do. So I'm not exactly sure what's inside the lead options, so I'm going to just leave that alone for a moment and stick to the syntax highlighting, or getting rid of the syntax issues, right? So, and it looks like we do have a bug here, which is probably why we weren't getting proper. Why we weren't getting the proper stuff, right? Check that. Yep. And then that is the for that, right? Okay, good. All right, so that's one set. And we've simplified this one with no else statement, and we've moved this to a little bit more straightforward. If it's not authoritative, we run this post migrate orders thing, right? If it is, then we do the for each, which means that we've moved. Not only have we gotten rid of the else, we've also gotten rid of one level of indentation. Because this was a 3-level indentation. Had your initial if statement, which was one level of indentation. You had your for each statement, which is another, and then you have the internal if statement, which is right here, which was the third layer of indentation. And ideally, you want to keep your indentation as close to the first level as possible. Second level, yeah, I mean it's not the end of the world, but 3, 4, 5, that's when you start getting into monster land. So I think that's good. So now let's move on to the next one. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had a Amazon delivery. So now we've come to the next point where we've got the same conditional or another else statement, I guess. So when we're looking at it, we have if the customers table is authoritative, then we get the order IDs. And if the customers table is not authoritative, we get the customer IDs. So here's an instance where what is really different is not actually the code inside the if or else. What changes is really it's just this piece right here. That's it. Right? So what I would do here, and this is a pretty simple one, and it's the same idea of getting rid of syntax highlight, I would set this get pending. Let's look what they call this get pending order sync over there. Now we got to find out where it's at. Nope, it's not there. Let's go up. And it's called get IDs of orders pending sync. Get IDs of orders pending sync. This is a lot easier in your ID, of course. Okay, so they're calling this type, right? So what I would do down here is I would just call this type as well. Type equals, and I would set it to the value of whatever's in the else statement, because that is, remember, inside the else statement and outside the else statement are the exact same scope, even though inside the else statement you have a false sense that it's a new scope. It's not really a new scope. So then I would just take this out and I would say order IDs equal take all this duplicate here and I would just replace this with type. Yeah, I don't need that space there. Okay, type. Well, maybe they do. Maybe their code style has a space there. It looks like it does. And then from here, I would get rid of this else altogether, right? So we've gotten rid of that syntax sugar. And in here, I would set the type to the new type. Type equals this value, which is the value that we actually need if it's authoritative. And bam. Now we've gotten rid of that. else statement. And you know, this is another good place for, now that I look at this, I think this is a really good place for um, a ternary. I don't know. Well, you'll see what I'm talking about. So basically, since we're setting both of these, we can get rid of all of this sugar in here. And you can do this a lot of places. I'm kind of on the fence about it because it could be a situation where a new developer or junior or something really wouldn't be clear on this. They wouldn't be able to see or understand exactly what's happening here, but it does make it a little bit cleaner. It's like conditional setting, but it's very very straightforward, you know. I don't know. I'm gonna submit this for I'm gonna submit a pull request and just see how they feel about it. I don't know if it'll get merged or not, but well, we'll see. You tend to get quite a bit of pushback, to be honest. So this is handled deleted posts. This is another one that I like to get rid of because I like to do early returns here because there's no reason for this to be inside of here. If we just negate all of these, then we can just do an early return and have that nice and clean outside of it, so you know. But anyways, that's a different type of refactoring. That's not syntax. That's not sugar refactoring. Okay, so again, we've got another one here. And this is, what is this method? This is handle feature description tip. So basically right here, we're getting a tip. That's all we're doing. We're getting a tip. So now what I want to do is I want to look and see what's different. And this, again, would be a lot easier in this would be a lot easier if it was not. If this was in my IDE. So, but since it's not, I'm going to be looking at this very hard to see what is different. There's an order pending sync from the posts and the orders table to the orders table to the post table. This feature should be disabled until the order is synchronized. Pending sync from the post table to the orders table. And interesting. So the only difference here is the position of posts and orders. Which, I mean, I really would like to do something about that, but because I don't want to do this work either. I don't want to do the whole sprint if twice in two instances, right? What is this n? What is this n? Once again, this would be so much easier in my ID because then I could open this up and see what these are called in. See what these are called inside of this method, but I don't know what it is, so what I'm going to do is, Interesting. So this is the method here. Handle feature description tips. Get extra tips. So I'll make a private method. And what I'm going to send is sync count, huh? So I'll send pending sync count, which is, I believe, it's going to be. Oh, I don't even have to do that. It's pending sync count. Well, it is used here. So it's used here to determine. Let's get current order sync count. Let's see what that does. If it does any, if it doesn't, if it just pulls a property, then I'm gonna use it twice. I don't care. Get total pending sync count. Was that what it was? Get total pending sync count. This get current order. No. Get current order pending sync count. Get current order sending ping count. Get current order sending ping count. Get current order sending. Oh, come on. Before I forget what it was supposed to be. There we go. Get current orders pending sync count. Catch, that's not it. It's close. And it looks like this doesn't inherit anything, so it has to be in here somewhere. Ah, there it is right there. Oh no, so it's doing some work. Yeah, it's doing some work. Okay, so since it's doing some work, I'm not going to call it twice. I was thinking about calling it twice. I thought it would be a good idea, but I'm not going to do it. Let's see what it returns. I should have looked at that. Yeah, come on back up here. Pending sync count. It returns an integer, so we know it's an int, right? Again, a lot easier in your IDE, but whatever. This is my first video of this type, and if you guys like it, then I might do more. If you don't like it, then I might do more. Or I might, I don't know, yeah, I might cry myself to bed or something like that. We'll figure it out. And this is going to return a string. Okay, there we go. And we'll give it a closing bracket. And so basically, now we'll take this whole thing, put this over here, and now we'll just return this. If that condition is met, and then we'll get rid of this indentation, and we'll return this if that condition is not met. Well, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more than that, I guess. We'll do a Control Tab. It doesn't work. What? Wait, not Control Tab. Shift Tab. Yeah. What am I thinking? It's a Saturday. Come on. Okay, so now we've gotten rid of that is so weird. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That looks better. So now we've gotten rid of this, the need for this, and what we can do is we can do extra tip equals this get extra. Oh wait, is that not the? Yeah, they're not using camel case. Extra tips. Get extra tip. Yeah, that'll work. Just get extra tip, and we'll send pending sync. And that lets us get rid of all of this. Okay, and with that, we've gotten rid of some of the sugar. Right? So what's the benefit of this? Well, the benefit is that these are a little bit more straightforward. Like if you look at this, you don't have these two conditionals in there because, you know, and it's information that really wasn't needed in here anyways. All you want to know is if you got a tip, you know, or if you got an extra tip, and then the actual work that it's supposed to be doing is right here. So you don't have all this fluff in there. Honestly, I would really love to just, yeah, I would just really love to be able to replace these bad boys with two different variables, and that would like solve the whole. We could get rid of all of this, but that's not sugar syntaxing or sugar refactoring. Okay, so we've gone through and we've looked to make sure that there is no sugar. And well, let's just make another look because I think there might be some more. So we've gotten rid of the else statements, which is good. And then so the next one is to look for opportunities for early returns. So early returns are when you're doing something and then you continue doing something else. But like, yeah, so this is an early return, right? So if we're using the catch, then we check the catch and we do some work, right? Oh, but only if it's only if we are not, if the catch is actually set. I just realized this is a WordPress. That's what that is. Huh. I've heard of WooCommerce, but I haven't really used it. So I guess it's a WordPress plugin. So we can look over here. We got rid of some sugar over here. So now this is another suspect area where we have a switch statement that has a lot of very similar code in here, right? So we're setting the SQL for this one, we're setting the SQL for this one, and we're setting the SQL for this one. So there's some minor difference between a prepared statement and just a straight up SQL string, but This would be something that I would want to look into and maybe simplify as much as possible before as part of a refactor. I don't really think it's sugar refactor. This is more of duplicate refactor to get rid of duplications. Or it's a dry refactor, I guess, would be a good word for it. All in all, I think this class looks a lot more. It's not too bad. It's actually a pretty good. It's not too bad for a class. It's nice and small. It has decent indentation. Yeah, I would really like to get rid of this. That would make me feel a lot better. But I think that that is a good little tutorial on basic sugar refactoring, getting rid of else. I'm gonna maybe try this a couple times every week or so. Nothing post edit, just pure raw, unadulterated refactoring. But next time, I think I'm going to do this in my IDE because yeah, PHP Storm is so much prettier and it helps jump back and forth. So, okay. All right. Thanks.